Your studio looks amazing.
Oh, thank you.
It's
the lighting is really nice right now.
Wow, and the trees.
Yeah. That's my pool.
And you have a pool.
I have a pool. Do you have any more stories?
Stories? Me?
Yeah, as I adjust this.
Yeah, I have a story of
Well, I want to respect that you want to go to bed soon. So.
No, I probably will be in bed only until I should be in bed soon, but realistically I won't be, so.
Oh. That's actually been a big issue I have faced, is like I've been staying up way too late and waking up way too late. Wait, you know the podcast Call Her Daddy?
Yeah, I tried it because I had this friend who really recommended it to me, and I just tried a few episodes and I was like, no, I don't like this.
I think they're a little bit, or she's a little bit, Alex Cooper is just too LA. I feel mean saying that. So Avril Lavigne was talking about sleep schedule, and she's like, yeah, I just like go to bed at 3 and then I wake up at like 3 and I just party. I'm like, whoa, you're different than I thought. It's not quite my schedule, but I'm like,
kinda.
Like
you were like kinda me.
Like when it's midnight, I'm like, okay, now it's time to retire from the studio, go to my room, do some computer work, and then like go on YouTube or something. Like after midnight is my chill time.
Yeah. We need to wind down. There's not enough hours in a day, especially when you don't have predefined hours with your work.
Yeah.
So what's your
schedule?
What's your schedule like right now?
I need to have way more discipline with it. Having a set time where it's like, no matter how tired I am, I need to wake up and go to my studio. And I realized that when I say that I have to do something before I do something else, I will delay the thing I have to do first for so long that it becomes like basically the end of the day, and then I'm like, okay, shit, it's sunset, and now I need to do everything right now. And I feel like that's the same with some of my art stuff, and I'm working in so many different mediums that it becomes even harder, because it's like, I'm not going to start a new painting until I finish this other one, and so the other one that's old, like all of these are actually old paintings that I'm like forcing myself to finish because they've been sitting around for so long. And so it's just like another block that doesn't need to exist, but I've just decided it has to be this way, and I guess it's like my attempt into discipline.
Yeah, unfinished project. No, how many do you have that are unfinished right now? Like in progress? Or how many are there that you wanna?
They're not even all in here. What?
How many of? Yeah, you're saying they're not even all in here. So there's probably like the category of the ones that are unfinished in total, and then the ones that are unfinished, but you're like, I have to fucking get those done.
Yeah, low-key, all of them, I'm like, I have to get them done, because they have a few opportunities of hanging them, which hasn't really existed for a long time. So for the longest time, I didn't have a studio nor a reason to continue working on things or making more, because I was like, I don't have a place to put it. And
yeah.
I'm bad at marketing. So they just sat, and now I have a studio, and now I have some opportunities. So I'm like, okay, well, more will come if I keep working on them. So I'm just trying to get all of them done. And I want to say, let me count. There's at least in front of me, and then there's more. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. 23 canvases, and then there's like a stack of at least 15 pieces of paper here, and then a portfolio of even more over there. I've never like verbalized the quantity of unfinished, because it makes me go insane. Because then in addition to all of my 2D work, I have my sewing machine, and I got it only like a month ago. I mean, I've had a sewing machine. I was using my mom's for the longest time, but I have this nice one. I had to get it repaired immediately after buying it because I got it used and it was like busted. So I had to wait, and now I have it, and I went through all of my stuff. Actually, when we were talking before about, you're like, now I'm going through all my shorts and I'm getting rid of it because it's winter now. I started doing that when I got back from my big trip this summer. I was like, I feel like it's cliche, but I was like, I don't need all this stuff. I simply have way too many clothes. I'm like, well,
you got used to those two things.
Wear, like a purple version of the same thing that I have it, but now I'm like, I don't really need that. So, sorry, I'm yapping.
No, love it.
I finished some coffee. I'm really sensitive to caffeine. So the issue is now I'm on a mission of sustainability, and I mean, of course I can donate clothes, but I'm like, there's some things that people just don't want to wear. It's ugly, and I have some of those things, or like they're ill-fitting or whatever. So this is my theory. It's like, if there's something that I really like, or like something I like about it, but I just don't wear it, I've put it in a pile of things to be favorited. So it's things that I still want to keep and like have for another 10 years or something until it starts disintegrating, basically. But I'm like reworking it to either fit me or like kind of fit the fits of clothes that I enjoy lately, because I feel like I've narrowed it down to be pretty specific. I'm not just gonna like wear whatever just because it has strawberries on it. So now I've got this big pile of things I want to rework, and then things that I rework that I just simply won't own myself, I'm gonna maybe sell, and then the other things will maybe not become clothes, but I'm just getting into textiles a lot more. Specifically getting into making bags because people love things that are usable and can display art.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get into printmaking and print on the bags that I tie-dye and sew together. Okay, I'm done talking.
No, but have you made one? Is there a prototype?
Yeah, I've gifted it already. It was a friend's birthday gift. Was like the first really good one.
Okay,
I made a few. I made my mom one. That was my first ever. And
but you were making them back for a while, no? Because I think I heard you talk about it, or have you just started now recently?
I feel like this year, I think the beginning of 2024, I was like, I'm gonna make a tote bag because it's not that hard.
Okay.
But it can get hard. Like it's depending on how sturdy or how many pockets, or like if you want it to be basically quilted, because I've been using a lot of fabric scraps that are not necessarily like the huge size that you need for like 2 big panels, and then you need a lot of fabric, so it's been like patchworky, like I'll use a little bit of this and this and this and this to make a square big enough to be one side of it. So I'm just using all my scraps, but like trying to make it look nice. I don't want it to look scrappy. I want it to be like another form of my art, but like usable.
I want to see some pictures if you have any. But
I will try
send me
to
some.
bust some out soon. I have an interview on Wednesday. That's soon.
For what?
It's not even for a job. It's just to have my work for sale at this art collective shop in San Francisco. And I have some stuff already at this place that I've been volunteering at. I love them. It's called The Fate. If you ever come here, you have to go.
Oh my god, I will.
Visit. They have jazz. They have really, really good jazz on first and third Wednesdays. I've been telling everyone about it. They have to check it out because it's actually like so excellent.
But I was thinking about that thing that you said about, okay, so you have all these, like, a few unfinished paintings, but you do want to finish all of them. When did, like, that's, like, to me, that sounds like an accomplishment, to be like, there's nothing that I'm working on that I'm not convinced. Like, maybe you're not fully convinced, or you're trying to get there, or you're trying to wait for the inspiration for it to come. But I'm wondering if it's always been like this, or if you just had scraps, like drafts lying around, and then were like, you just threw them away, or you just painted over them again, or like, do you still paint over or start over, or do you tend to like start and then just finish?
Oh, that's the thing. It's like, I have avoided this task of going back in on old work for so many years, just because either I wasn't sure how to do the thing I wanted to do, or I was just feeling like I had like lost the thing that I originally thought about when I first came up with the concept. but also a lot of my work is just working, like I'll be feeling a certain motivation or inspiration and I have to get it down as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Or what happens will happen where I get halfway. It's usually with these big pieces. I have like, this is what I mean. It's like when I say 23 paintings in here, but then there's even more inside my house that I also have to work on. But I have these really, really big ones from my undergrad that I handed in because my professors were adamant that they were done. They were like, don't overwork it, don't do it. But I'm like, I'm not necessarily going for just painterly. Like, I love putting details in. I love putting in like little secret things that you have to look closer to see. And the art professors were all like, you are done, like, don't, if you keep working on this, you're going to ruin it. So that's really like ingrained into my head. And it's like, I take that advice sometimes because there are times where I'm like, this is actually pretty good. I'm going to leave it how it is because it's pretty good. However, I'm just curious of what it could be. So I guess that's always the thing I'm thinking about. Is like, well, if I push it a little more, then maybe it's going to be like this. Or this.
Yeah. I remember you... What?
I don't think you can see them behind me, but a lot of these are pieces that were pretty minimal and like quiet before, and then I was worried about ruining the quietness of them because sometimes that's all a painting needs to be. But I was like, there's just so much potential underneath the surface that just need to be like kind of discovered with some more paint marks or something.
I think that's what I love about, like, and that's why I'm kind of sad that I didn't get to see your work like in real life, because you can tell, like, even from a fucking screen, like, I'm just like staring at it. I was like zooming and I was like, what? Like, whoa, I want to enter this world. Like, what's going? And I think you mentioned that in Bosnia, your professors, I don't know if you call them professors, I guess so, they were about them being like, don't go too far, don't get into detail too much, or something about the style. I don't really remember what you were saying about the style, but they wanted you to do something different to what you wanted to do. Do you know?
Yeah, they encouraged more abstract
stuff, right?
And basically, yeah, they really loved people's work when it was like very loose and just kind of exploring texture and color, which I understand why they would like
to learn, right?
I definitely like opened my eyes a little bit more to it, because I think when you're younger, often you're not that interested in abstract, where I remember like going to the MoMA and kind of being like, okay, so like, I don't care about this stuff, I don't get it. And I think a lot of viewers, like, first, what do they call it? My God, that has a word for it. Like, level, this sounds condescending, but it's not supposed to be, but like level 1 art viewers, where they like look at, I don't know, Basquiat, and they're like, this looks like a children's style of painting, and like kind of diminishing it because it's not refined. People, like, I don't want to generalize, but well, even me, I can talk about it. When I was in high school, I was like, the only good art is like hyper-realism. Things that are so, like, you can see every single pore on someone's face, or like the undershadow of a dewdrop, like all these things really specific. And then I was like, wait, well, that's what photos are for. Like, you don't need just spend like hours and hours replicating a photo, because that's not really telling any story. But so I was criticized for that in art school. They were like, you need to just like get loose. And so while everyone else was already kind of not everyone, there were other people that were struggling with like, I want to do realism, and arts professors were like, do something ugly. So
yeah, I was stuck with that too. Like, in the few years of art school that I did, I just wanted it to be perfect. And yeah,
I think it's a common thing. Like embracing bad art is really hard, and it feels like kind of it's like a brain game to be like, I'm gonna make something that I did. It's like basically you're unlearning um, which is so weird. I don't know if this is art school or like what I had to deal with, but I'm learning the process of making things look technically good, just like letting it be more of an expression, like an emotional expression, or an exploration in color. And so I think merging the two of like this blobby, goopy, messy thing and like trying to make it really crisp and refined has sort of informed my style the most, because it's been like, I'm really interested in color theory, but I always want things to look like realistic, kind of. I'm like, oh, I want there to be a good shadow in these leaves with a good highlight, but I'm also like, oh, but what if it were all these different colors? So sometimes it looks kind of weird.
So you said level 1 art. What is the art where you project like whatever is in this hard drive of a brain onto what you see? Like, how do you think, so we see things differently, right? But do you think that we really do? Like, I guess I don't even know what I'm asking, but
I think I understand what you're asking.
The emotion, yeah, go on.
If I know what you're asking, if you want to rephrase it, you can.
No, because if you think you know, you're connecting to my subconscious right now.
So I think that people who, I just don't want to sound judgmental, because I'm not trying to be like, but I'm also critiquing people who are critiquing. But people who say like childish art is bad, I think are a little close-minded to the like whatever fuel is allowing the artist to make that kind of thing. And so artists that do really loose, playful, like maybe poorly rendered art, I think are really endearing and important, because it's like you can do something out of curiosity rather than like masterfulness.
Yeah.
And I think so. A level 1 viewer, like art viewer, probably only likes level 1000 artists, and our level 1000 artists aren't even. That doesn't mean that they're like so amazing. I'm just saying like technical skills and things that level 1 viewer would like. So I'm talking about like really, really crisp, beautiful painted portraits of like gorgeous women in a turquoise pool or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like imagery that we all love, or like a really beautiful flower, or like things that are just, you look at it and you're like, that's objectively good.
Yeah,
it's like really well done, and it's imagery that we all love. It's not necessarily saying very much, and all of that kind of thing. And then like a high level viewer, I guess this is such a weird way of describing it, but I'm just thinking, I was talking to my godmother about this too. We were at a museum, an art museum, and she was asking me, we were just talking about the same thing, and she was kind of phrasing it in this way too, because there are some things that are so like maybe hard to understand, or maybe like it doesn't make sense why people, like art critics of the highest whatever, love it so much, because it's like just a splash of paint on a white canvas, and everyone's like, oh, it's amazing, it's incredible, $10,000 now, like that kind of thing.
That's I'm gonna interrupt you, because I think that this whole debate of like, is everything art, and the thing that they ask us when we're kids, and like, do you see art when you see this? I think that the minute art is driven by monetary motives, it loses the purpose. And then yesterday I was with Walker, and we saw this, we were in a cafe hanging those posters up, and there was this thing that said observation is a dying art form. And I was like, in the end, it's like the recipient is just as much part of the art as there's this whole thing between the relationship of the person receiving it, like the transmission of the message, the context in which it's being portrayed, and all of that like kind of matters. And I think where it kind of tends to get stuck is when it involves, like, as usual, like the ego, monetary motives, and this, how do you say that? Common understanding of it being cool and great, and people just will all think it's amazing. Like, if tomorrow X says that your art is level 1000, it's gonna be what level 1000 because it's a level 1000 judge, and that's how people think. And that's so interesting, right? How it can just, the perception can just be altered by the way someone else perceives it. I think that's crazy. But sorry for interrupting.
So and I wonder if there is a tie to if the viewer is wealthy, then that's what everyone listens to. Like, I think, what do you think about, I always reference this when I'm wearing, like, scrappy clothes that I've worn to death, and there's, like, holes in it, and someone's like, why are you still wearing that? And I'm like, well, you know, like, if not that Kanye West is any kind of role model, but, like, if he's, like, selling things for hundreds of that, or whatever, I don't know, $500 t-shirts with holes in it, I'm like, okay, well, if he says it's good and he has money and everyone loves him, not anymore, this is like a few years ago, but then whatever, it doesn't matter if I'm wearing this scrappy shirt. It's like just from the viewer. Like, if like rich people start viewing me as like, whoa, maybe that's like an expensive, like, I don't know, free people thing that like it looks handmade, but that's like the cute part. Like, maybe people like things that are now, but back in the day or whenever it was, or maybe still now, people really like refined, clean, well made, all these things. I'd like that too, but I don't have money for it.
Yeah, I mean, there are ways of like playing with your style as an art form with very little money. But I always bring back this example of having received like a lot of good quality pieces of clothing from my grandmother, and how I realized that they made me feel good because I felt like I had something that it wasn't about, there was no big logo on the pieces. It's just that they're durable, they're so timeless, and you look put together, and people treat you that way. Whereas if I had been going around doing the same things in certain settings with a sweater with holes in it, it wouldn't have gone the same way. But that just depends on, like, are you comfortable in that sweater with holes in it? I personally don't like, I don't like things with like holes in them anymore. But
no,
I get it, you know, like I've made holes in jeans that were my mom's, and I really cared about them, and I keep them because I love them, and I wish I could give them to like my kids, but it's over, you know, like they're just at the end of their life and there's no more fabric to be used, you know, like but
sure. I mean, I'm just like, I guess I'm critiquing consumerism more than I don't know, like fashion trend, but I guess it's hand in hand, but like buying new clothes that are just like poorly made or are not going to be in style next year or whatever, just like buy like fast fashion, I guess. And like prioritizing quality, durability, your specific style rather than like what's trending. I love all that. Like,
but see, the thing with like, I've thought about this, like, how is fast fashion like such a thing? And even though I used to go to Zara, I've completely like stopped buying new clothes. But I was like, from a behavioral perspective, like, how do people not get that it's just not making sense? Like, and then I was thinking, isn't that us being like privileged level whatever observers of the situation of like, well, the real art is the real good quality clothing, and people are just stupid for buying shitty garments that are not durable? Well, that's also because we're in a certain, I could never have constructed these values about garments and quality of clothes and fabrics without having had the opportunity to actually own some. And I would never have afforded those coats, let's say, on my own. And that's the interesting part, because I would maybe not think about clothes in the same way that I do now. Love that we're talking about clothes and fabrics. Let's talk about a painting.
Okay.
What about the cave that we were in? Did you make a painting of the cave we were in Bosnia?
I haven't made it yet because I would have to start a new canvas for it, and that's what I mean. It's like a block to start something I want to start. I have to do all of these before I start that. But
you have the sketch.
What?
You're gonna treat yourself?
I'm gonna treat myself to a new canvas, which I have like a backlog of canvases I've been hoarding, so I really need to start using those too. Like there's incentive to do both. It's like work on the things I have and start on something I already own. So I'm gonna start a cave painting for sure, girl. It's gonna be big, and I'm so excited because I have so many reference photos from that actually that I'm like, all of these, like I'd love to paint all of them, and I'd love it to be a series, but I know that I'm like pushing something pretty damn ambitious right now. So trying to do like a series of cave paintings while trying to finish all these and start doing clothes and bags is a lot.
Yeah.
Trying to make money.
and trying to make money. Not trying to monetize my art, but
No, that's the thing. Like none of these are necessarily very sellable. Like, or my mom said, bless his heart, but my mom said that my local dentist I used to see him. I don't see him anymore because I don't have health insurance for going to the fucking dentist. But he was like, oh, does Pam want to hang some art in my office? I'm like, oh my God, that's so sweet. That's so awesome that he offered that. But then I was like looking at my portfolio. I'm like, there's not that much that's like
dentist proof.
Appropriate. Like there's a few things that I'm like looking at some of my light stuff. But even that is like, there's
the caves.
The caves could work, but I feel like I don't know what direction I'll take them in, because usually it's not just like I was talking about, like a photorealistic thing. I don't think it's gonna look like just a picture I took. I think I'll have to. I always like must infuse narrative. I can't just have like a painting of something. I actually did when I go to my studio, I try to do like a little warm-up piece, and it's something that I'm like not stressed about the outcome. It's not something so I have this big basket of postcards and like photos that I've printed that I've taken, and I'll kind of make it like a grab bag for my warm-up. So I'll like grab one of the pictures and make like a little study of it. And I feel like some of those, because I'm not trying to like infuse it with any other substance, or if it happens, it happens, but I'm not like really thinking about it. I'm just like, oh, here's a picture of Tasmania. How lovely. I'm gonna paint that and put it aside and then get into my like heavy shit.
So it's like a smaller one, small painting.
Yeah. What I was saying is I did this one little painting of a little house. I don't think I have the reference photo of it anymore, but it's like this beautiful little farmhouse in upstate New York that was close to where I used to live there. And it was in fall, and it was like golden hour, and it's like this really simple image in brown tones, which is also something that I actively fear when I'm painting, because I'm like, oh, but there's so much. I could put neons, and I could put like rich phthalo blue and all these things, but like doing something that's kind of sepia tone or sepia, like brown, tan, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was like, it's like oddly out of my comfort zone. It was a really simple composition, not much narrative beyond like a house in the center and a road to the left. And then all the colors were really flat, so stuff like that I don't even know what I was talking about, but I was just thinking about like making things, even if I don't mean for them to have
meaning.
Yeah, like sometimes do. I guess they have to.
I love that you have you found your ways. Like, I think that's really, it's like how there's people who do like office work and they'll find their little ways to like stay motivated. And then you had that postcard idea. And that's shows that it's like you need a lot of self-discipline, and I can't even imagine it when it's like your independent art and you don't have to deliver to anyone but yourself pretty much, and unless you're being commissioned for something, but you're still able to build this like incredible collection of pieces. I admire that so much, honestly.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's like a discouraging process because it's like, why am I making this if no one's ever gonna see it? But I'm just like, I have to like continue making so that people see it. Yeah. And like in some ways I'm like, it doesn't even matter if people see it, but like it would sure be nice to have more space in my studio and like have these paintings go somewhere, so that I'm just like sitting around on the floor. And to
talk about it, you know, like I think not to talk, but at least to be like, not to talk necessarily, but to be able to exchange on like how it felt in the process. And super off topic, but and it'll only last 2 seconds, but I was thinking like here in Greece, there's such an order culture, like just order your food online. And I think that's so weird because I'm like, no, but I want to see who like makes my food, and I want to thank them, and I want to smile at them, and I think that's
special for that though. You're very special. Most people don't care. I think that's something that's like specifically admirable about you.
Thank you. But it's not like it's like that every day. I'm not perfect, you know, but there like the fundamental value that lies behind it is kind of that. And maybe it's not even real. Maybe it's just my ideal state of being. And as a result, I try to avoid ordering online, but I just do that because I told myself that it's bad to, you know, just like I don't have Instagram on the app because it's addictive. But then people are like, oh, why do you do it? Well, I'm like, well, there's many reasons. Also, I like walking, so I like walking to the fucking restaurant and getting my food. You know, it's never just like, oh my God, no, I'm just such an amazing human and I need the connection. But we need connection. That's the bottom line. And I think that I was talking to my friend yesterday, and we spoke about a lot, but receiving a compliment or an encouragement as an artist from anyone pretty much, but I think artists especially seek it from other artists, from well, I guess it makes sense, especially if you're in a certain field. And like, how do you feel like that is, like, do you feel like there's a lot of competition in the industry? In German, there's this word called Schadenfreude, where it's like, I'm probably not going to explain it right, but you're basically getting joy from someone's misery or like lack of, let's not put it that way. Let's put it as lack of success, or you hope that someone just doesn't make it. And I feel like that's also very present. Don't cry.
No, it's so sad. That's happening everywhere. There's like, that also goes into the individuality, like seeking individuality and like not caring about the well-being of others in some ways. That's a stretch, but kind of. It's like, oh, I don't want you to do well so that I have a better chance of doing well. Like, you should be working together. You should really be like trying to make everyone a little bit more elevated, because what is it gonna do to like stomp on your friends or your peers at least?
And it's not even about stomping, because that's the extreme, right? There's this unconscious process of when we see someone. I was talking on the phone with a friend who sings like earlier, and we were talking about the case where, what were we saying?
individuality and stopping on
Yeah,
others for your own success.
Yeah, that you might see someone succeed and then just get it mirrored with your insecurities or what you're lacking or what you feel like you deserve. And yeah, that's just an interesting concept because it's often very subconscious and it can happen between people who are seen as close or who consider themselves very close to each other. But anyways, I don't think we should elaborate, but I think it's important to talk about because there's that like debate that was not debate, there's that topic between feminine rivalry or whatever that was open between Charlie X.
Oh, yeah.
And that
the death of female friendships.
Yeah. And that was interesting. I was like, we could transpose that thought or reflection to so many other aspects in life, like the death of authentic human care. Like,
yeah. No, for real, I agree. And all of these things, we just happen to be talking about it separately, but they are so in my work. Like, I'm thinking about specifically females supporting females, specifically about like real connection and like presence of another person, just energetically. It doesn't even need to be like interactive, but like pairs or more of people together, specifically women. It's like so important.
Yeah.
And not happening enough.
Is there a painting that you're thinking of when you think of what you're talking about?
They're all hanging up in my parents' house, but honestly, I didn't even mean for this to happen. I wasn't like consciously like, I'm gonna make a series throughout a few years of like two girls doing things to, like, not sexually, just like really, it's like two girls like playing. I have this one painting of them like running towards the house, and there's like some, I want to call it like geothermal light, the water or something, it's a secret, is glowing, and then there's two girls running towards the house.
I think
and
I
then there's
see
another
it.
one of like two girls, or I mean also it doesn't need to be gendered. I'm just like not specifically making paintings about men. Like, it can be whoever, but they are usually wearing like a puffy little tunic. So gender neutral, maybe feminine. And that's pretty important because there's a line about like making art about women and like female gaze. Like I've made a few paintings when I was in high school of like I was saying, I was interested in photorealism and making paintings of just realistic people, and I was like, oh, girls are so pretty. So let me paint all these like really pretty pictures of women's bodies, basically. And I'm glad I did. Like, it's better than paintings of like hot boys or something, which I did do some of those too, but they're all gross. Anyway, I was like, I don't want it to be so sexualized. I really don't want there to be any ounce of like over-sexualization in these forms. So I do make them like, I'm looking at this one, it's like, when I'm talking about a childlike illustration style, here's a really good example. It's like, I can do a realistically rendered or like semi-realistically rendered person. There's like a contrast. This one's not done, but like, okay, so it's really hard to see, but she's like, you can see that she's like anthropomorphically accurate, I guess. Mm-hmm. And I have a few others that's like, I can draw a body, I just don't necessarily want it to always be like hot girl. So then I have this thing of something that I want to do, and it's like these little rat babies. They're like floppy little
but they're so babies. Cute. So cute.
And so it's also been kind of interesting incorporating sort of like androgynous forms that lean feminine, but like not make them sexual.
The world needs more of that, maybe.
I don't know. Well, I can be the supplier.
I think we found a market gap right here.
Yeah. Here's another one. This is like not, well, I guess I covered up, well, that's the other thing. I kind of covered up her body, but like a big sack and like a blanket, and like it's it's like simplified humans that are kind of girlish.
Love it. I really like how you, yeah, it like, or the things we spoke about are tied into what you describe now.
Yeah,
And,
it's
like,
kind of crazy. But also, like, just meeting you, like, when we were in Bosnia and you just randomly brought up synchronicities, that was a synchronicity within itself, because that's, like, my favorite word in the world. It's something I think about all the time. And then I just happen to be on a farm in Bosnia, and then you come up and you're like, so what do you think about synchronicities? What? That's crazy. So fun. Yeah, you've got some kind of, a little bit of, I don't know, telekinesis or something. Or maybe the universe is just like, y'all have to meet and talk about it.
Yeah, it's like we're on a Kim Possible mission. Oh my god, I love Kim Possible.
I love Kim Possible.
Yeah.
I've been doing, I remember one time you were like, when I cut your bangs, and you're like, oh, I want to be wearing like red lipstick right now. And I was like, whoa, ooh. And I was thinking, like, I never feel like the guts to be like, I want to be wearing red lipstick. And I was like, but in theory, that's so empowering. And then I was like, well, what's like a halfway point of, like, maybe not like full red lip where it's very like, I think it's very sexy, and I don't really want to be sexy. I don't want to be like trying to be sexy,
Yeah.
For me. And so I've been doing like just kind of like a slightly darker shade on just my top lip, and I'm like Kim Possible right now.
Synchronicities. But you know, the story about that red lipstick that I have is that my mom got me an advent calendar with like cosmetic products in it, and there was red lip liner and red lipstick in it, and I was like, well, I guess this is it. Like, I guess this is like the universe calling me to like, okay, fine, you don't wear makeup, but put on those red lips, you know. And I just embraced it. Like, I don't do it every day, but I remember the first people who saw it and they were like, that looks nice. And I was like, okay, let's fucking go. Because I remember that energy, that women who did it. And I'm referencing to my friend Janet, for example. I've seen other people do it, and I always thought, wow, like, because they're not, it's not, you don't get this vibe of they're trying to be this or that. They're just so at ease with, like, them, you know, like, and that,
no, it's like super confident, like, it exudes confidence, and like, I don't care what you think.
Yeah.
And I'm hot. Like, it's like all of them together. Like, I'm really hot and I don't care if you think so. I don't think that. I think that's the thing when I was like, I don't want to be like sexy. I just don't like being perceived in that way, unless it's like a treat. Unless I'm like literally, it's almost like cosplaying, where I'm like, like I'm gonna go to some fancy event that I don't belong at. I'm like, well, maybe I'll wear some lipstick.
Yeah.
No one knows me.
How would you say that your style has evolved throughout the years? And I'm talking not since your first painting, but more in terms of your general artistic expression since you're a kid, but then also, of course, how it manifested in your paintings.
I guess it's that same thing of like always striving for realism. When I was like a young painter in high school and stuff, like I still have prints for sale of my first like realistic painting. It's called Lacey, and it's this girl, it's like her head it's like cropped right here, and it's her body. Photo I found of her in like a little lacy jumpsuit thing, and it's very cute. But I would never paint that now, ever, even if I like the image. I would never think like, oh, nice picture, I'm gonna make it just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Even, like, I've got a few Pinterest folders organized, so I've got like figures in one, or landscape references, or creatures that I like to include. But then when I look at it and I'm trying, like, if I'm looking at something, maybe I have the background, maybe I even have the figure, and I'm like, I want to put a structure in it. I also have a structure folder. sometimes it's like, it's too realistic. I'm like, well, how do I simplify this? Like, I want it to be suggesting that it's always houses. I feel like I've been drawn to houses for the last 5 or 6 years. I'm actively trying to do less houses.
Why
But it
houses?
just still kind of comes up. Why houses? Oh, I feel like that's something I should go to therapy for. It's like something I'm really trying to delve into. I'm not sure. Even this one, this is like, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like, it's really dark. But right now, it's like suggesting that there's some sort of bed right here with curtains here. But the silhouette it makes it's a house.
Yeah.
But I guess it's like finding a sense of home and like within myself, because I do want to travel a lot, and having a settled down place that is my home is seemingly like not gonna happen for a few years, or maybe for like short blips of time where I'm like, I'm at a home for like a few months and then I go to a different home, but it's like, yeah, just like, so really most importantly, like finding home within my body, and the house sort of represents that state of like safety within yourself and like comfort and everything, even if you're like in a tent or on a floor or, you know, in your car.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw this really cool exhibition in Edinburgh. I always get self-conscious when I pronounce it.
You do it perfectly.
And it's this artist, he's called Doho Soo, and he has a whole exhibition on, like, his art is about the concept of home. And it was one of the first contemporary art exhibitions where I was really like, wow, like this is so, I got so emotional, and it makes a lot of sense. Like, it's not, I don't think it's normal not to be drawn to that concept, or
it's very relatable. That's like the most human thing. Yeah, I think like if you yeah, it's like art about your main needs, like shelter, connection, water, like safety, like all these things that are so ingrained to us since we were babies, can often hit hardest, I think, or like there's just like a lot more emotional infusion into it, from viewer and artist, and that's not why I'm making it. Like, it's really subconscious. Like the paintings I'm making, and I'm like, what would go in this little space I've made here? Perhaps shelter. Like, it's not always a house, but it's like caves too. I feel like the cave series is going to be sort of interconnected to it, because I've done a lot of paintings where there's literally right here, there's so many with caves, actually, entrances to caves. And so the cave series will probably be like just the other side or inside of the cave you can see from the outside from previous work.
Can I subscribe? You should have a newsletter. Like, why don't you make a newsletter for your paintings?
Who cares?
I care. I would subscribe, and all it takes is like what, like one, like how do you make a newsletter? Fuck do I know? But all you need to do is send one picture every time you finish a painting, and I'm gonna be like, oh my god, I love it.
I could do a newsletter to just you. I just like don't think anyone would care. I barely post on Instagram, and it's just like, I don't know. I could put it on my website, and like, yeah, I don't know how you do newsletters.
I think it's more of a word of mouth thing. Like, if someone shows interest, you could be like, well, I finished a painting newsletter. And you don't even need to explain it. It can just exist. It can just be a picture. I think you should do it. I would love it. And for now, it can.
Isn't that what Instagram is, though? Like, hey everyone, finish this. Here you go.
No, I think an email is just, it's different. It's just different. I have this friend who was doing travel updates, and she would send this whole Bible, and I would click open, and there would be like a whole block of text, and I was like, whoa, like I would never read something like that if it was a real newsletter, but this is my friend's newsletter, so I'm gonna fucking read it.
That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, sort of like a journal entry. I guess I'm not a super confident, I don't know, it's hard. Like when I was taking creative writing classes in high school, I think that's the last time I did. I mean, no, I had to do it in college too, but I liked it kind of, but I was really embarrassed to share it with anyone. I guess that's a really common thing. I just don't feel like words are my forte.
Yeah.
So trying to describe whatever I'm thinking about in my head, trying to translate something so raw into something that is palatable for a newsletter just feels like it would be, not that vulnerability is bad. I'm always searching for that. I'm like constantly trying to be probably too vulnerable, but writing it down and being like working through whatever I'm thinking about in some pieces sometimes is a little bit too dark. Like,
Yeah, but I think,
go ahead.
yeah, imagery can be your form of expression. It doesn't have to be words.
It pretty much is. That's
Yeah.
the thing. That's why I like when I'm doing music production, I don't foresee myself doing like lyrics that you can hear, because I'm like, that's not it. I don't know. Words are hard.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna show this little painting I did that I feel like weird about even trying to sell it, because it is so personal, but it maybe it will kind of touch someone in a similar way or it doesn't need to be similar way, it can be like their own way, but it's very specific. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. Well, I can describe it, and I've done paintings like this before. In fact, my thesis painting was a big scale version of it. Let me just get to it. Here it is. The concept of birthdays my birthday very, very, very specifically is like a very anxiety-inducing thing. So it's just like a birthday cake that it's sitting on like a dimly lit table and it's dark. So basically, and then I had a thesis piece called I think it's called "No One Came to My Birthday Party."
Oh.
and it's like a table with a cake on it, and there's like a silhouette of someone like this. It's just really sad, and I don't know, I guess by the title people can infer that it's like a sad piece, but I think when it's really overtly sad and like, let me just spill everything about my sadness, that's too much. I want there to be like kind of a balance of like, is this playful and cute and pretty, or is it like really sad and like dark? I feel like the play of that, where you can read into it either way.
Mm-hmm. You know what's interesting is that when we spoke about the newsletter, you were like, I couldn't put words to it, but you're having I think you're putting, like, you're describing it in such an, what's that word? Eloquent. Like a beautiful way. Like, you do know what's behind it. And I feel like that's often sometimes I miss, is that it's like kind of taboo with artists, or they're like, it's up for interpretation, and that's fine. But also a recent exhibition I saw at the Museum for Contemporary Art here in Athens, and there's this artist called Penny Siopsis, and I'm not going to describe it, but you get it, you understand like how everything fits together and how it was created, and it's nice to like understand what's behind something. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah. You got the little secret. That's the thing. It's like, yeah, maybe it is taboo, because I think it sort of ruins the ability to relate if I just explain my specific stance on something, then whoever's viewing it will be like, oh, well, I thought it was like, it's like mishearing lyrics. Like if you mishear lyrics to something for the longest time, you're like, oh, it's that, and they're saying that, and that really hits. And then you look it up and you're like, wait, that's not what they're saying? That changes everything.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really like it as much now. I worry about that, sort of.
Yeah.
So that's why I do like there to be like your own interpretation of the narrative being like happening.
Yeah. And you don't want to impose like a way of interpreting, because like we spoke about in the beginning, it's so formed by, like, your perception of things is formed by prior experiences, openness of mind, patience, genuine kindness and curiosity, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is. You look really sleepyhead. Is it like midnight 12? What?
Yeah, midnight 30. I'm gonna go to sleep.
Yeah, you should go to sleep. Midnight 30. Girl, thanks for talking to me. I hope you sleep well.
Thank you. I am very, very happy to be doing this in general because we were talking about art the whole time, and this is kind of my little thing, and it wouldn't be possible without people love it, like being into it, and
No,
so
it's so cool. It's so admirable. I feel like your genuine curiosity, like you were talking about, like, I want to go in and buy my food and talk to the people baking or whatever, and all that is, that's what makes you special. So thanks for being you.
thanks for being quirky.
Wait, remind me when your birthday is. I know you're a Capricorn, but when?